Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fortress of Comic News, episode 197. I'm one of your hosts, Chris, alongside Wildcat Mike.
Wildcat. Now that's a reference to an interview coming up. And we have a special, I don't know if we can announce it yet, but we do have a special interview coming up for episode 200, because you did hear the 197 approaching. We're approaching 200. Yeah.
There's some cool stuff for episode 200 happening. Yeah. I'm excited.
But today, let's focus on 197. We have the returning guest, Mr. David Whalen, on the show, writer of The Offspring, and you will find out a bunch of one-shots that he's been working on. This dude loves writing and drawing comics, and you could hear it in all the stuff that he's doing, so stick around for that. Always a great time talking with him, so yeah.
Definitely.
Other than that...
I was on his website and like, dude, so many books. Like,
I know.
I forget because we've had him on once or twice before, and like, so much stuff. It's awesome. I love seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all great stuff too. So please support indie comics and what he's doing. Plus, he's a teacher too. I mean, yeah, come on, support our teachers.
Yes.
Yeah.
They more than any of us need the extra income.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I mean, we got a lot of news to get through. I don't know if you want to just jump into it. People don't really care to hear about our lives, but
let's jump. Let's get our jump to the news mat out.
Okay. Yeah, I have one of those. Let me go find it. But anyways, we're going to talk about WandaVision. I watched both episodes, both less than 30-minute episodes. What's up with that? We'll talk about that in a second, but so Disney Plus is announcing more casting for the upcoming Moon Knight series. So Chris, get ready. Oscar Isaac is confirmed to play Moon Knight. So I mean, we already know he's gonna kill it. Joining the show is May Calamawy, sorry, and Ethan Hawke. Neither role was announced. Ethan Hawke, man, he's another one that anything he's in, he just is really awesome. Interesting that he's part of a superhero thing.
I almost wonder if he's like, well, so there's multiple things that could happen here because how they're going to handle split personalities, because in the comics sometimes this like split personality is a completely different person altogether, where like he doesn't actually look the same. I don't know if they're gonna do that because you got Oscar Isaac, like you're gonna show that face off as much as possible.
Yeah,
but Ethan Hawke as Khonshu, like that would be a cool idea. Like, I mean, he would have to be, voice acting it because you would probably CG Khonshu, but
yeah, I
like that. And I mean, I'm sure maybe he's the villain. I don't know, but. Awesome, casting, especially for like a TV series, like
right.
But Oscar Isaac killing it, man. Like, so he was the villain from Power Rangers in the X-Men movie, but then he did good things and went to Star Wars.
The villain from Power Rangers. Oh man.
But recently, so Dune's coming out. He's in that.
Yeah.
He just got announced. He's playing Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Now he's doing like this.
I think it also helps. It also helps that he has one of those like faces. He's very like dark features, but also he has like one of those faces that you could put in like everything.
Whenever I see him, I think of Entourage. He's got the big head.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So I mean, I'm excited for it. And speaking of like Disney Plus doing Marvel shows, we got our first exposure to that with WandaVision on Friday. Nothing really spoiling about these two episodes. I don't think there's any major like, oh my god, they spoiled that. I would say these two episodes could have been consolidated into like a 45-minute episode. I don't know how you felt about it, but.
I think that idea would go against what the show is, because I'm looking at it and it seems like to me they're doing the history of sitcoms.
Okay.
Because they really start off with like an I Love Lucy, Dick Van Dyke style, and then they kind of go and it turns into almost a what's the genie one?
I Dream of Jeannie.
I Dream of Jeannie. It gets to that kind of like she's doing some magic stuff, and it's a little.
Yeah.
And then I think what they're gonna do is because at the end of the second episode, you know what? If you haven't watched it by now, spoilers. I'm sorry. Fast forward like 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Right.
But at the end of the first episode, it turns to color.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like the color comes, and now we're going to do like an 80s sitcom.
Yep.
And I think it's just going to evolve as the show goes until we get to like the point, because at the end of both episodes, we saw like there's something else going on.
We do get the reveal that Sword, they're being observed by Sword.
Yeah.
And you could probably elaborate on what Sword is. I had to research it myself, but they're like shields, but for space, and right, I would assume.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
They're what protects the Earth from intergalactic threats, and they constantly fail because every Marvel event book is an intergalactic threat.
Yeah, exactly. So they suck.
But I get the idea that because last time we saw Vision, he was dead.
Yeah.
And that's important. And there was a moment where it was like, you know, Wanda, what are they doing to you? Wanda, what are they doing to you? And I got from that what we said last week of like it's giving a real Black Hammer vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I get heavier and heavier of a Black Hammer vibe. Like something, whether it's Sword or maybe Sword's like viewing but trying to help out. I don't know, but somebody is doing something to Wanda is what I'm feeling. And that this is her like going through kind of like a acid trip in her brain trying to get over the idea that Vision's no longer alive.
Yeah, and I think there's some very uncomfortable scenes though. Like the dinner party scene was very uncomfortable. Like, and that I like it though. I mean, like it goes from you said like a Dick Van Dyke show to like then it becomes like a Hitchcock movie when they're like, you know, the guy falls to the floor and all this stuff happening. So, I mean, we don't know a whole lot from the first two episodes, and I honestly, it doesn't feel any different than a Marvel movie. You know, I mean, with seeing these characters on a smaller screen and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I really liked it. And I think that the beekeeper, so the beekeeper's become a meme online, and we saw it in the trailers and this and that. But as I'm watching it and I saw the beekeeper come up and the actual, like, the swarm around him, whether that's going to be this character or just kind of a reference to this character, but I got a swarm vibe, the villain swarm, which is Nazi bees. Awesome. Man is basically a living hive, and he's a Nazi. As most, you know, Marvel villains were back in the day.
Right.
But so I got like a vibe that was what's going on there. So I'm trying to figure out who's going to be behind this. Is that going to be Swarm? Is that where they're going? And just after the show, when they do that little thing where they show Sword in both episodes, like there's a lot of great mystery here, and I love it. And I love what they're doing. A lot of it goes over my head because I'm not like a film buff or a TV buff or anything like that. I can see some of the things they're doing where like each episode seems to be based on a certain like time period in television and film that is going on. So I'm really enjoying it. I do think it's going to be a very acquired taste though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know some people aren't too happy with like what they're expecting, but I mean, give me more stuff for Disney Plus. You know.
Well, I was talking to someone about it last night too, where I feel like we mentioned on this show that we thought it was weird that this was the show they're going to come out the gate with.
Yeah, right.
And now I kind of get the feeling that maybe they did this because they were like, we think we have something, it's different, and some people are going to like it. But then as soon as it's over, it's Falcon and Winter Soldier, just like palate cleanse, typical superhero things.
Right.
So now I'm wondering if that I kind of wasn't cool with was like confused by the idea of them doing it this way. Now I understand. Like, okay, this is what you're doing. You're getting a lot of people being like, what the fuck is this? And then we come out with Falcon and Winter Soldier and be like, okay, guys, like, here's your regular thing. Just
yeah, right. Yeah, so I guess we'll see. I mean, I didn't hate it, and it was certainly enjoyable to watch. So, and it's not that much of a commitment. It was like two 25-minute episodes. So,
Yeah, and once again, I think that's on purpose too, to keep
yep,
it sitcom-y. So
right. Um, movie news: Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios announced that Deadpool 3 is officially coming, and then it's going to be R-rated, and it's currently going to be coming out in 2022. So, yeah, Marvel's like, we had a recipe that worked for the first two. Let's not change that recipe. So good for them for sticking with the R rating.
yeah, I'm gonna say this. It's weird that that's the introduction the X-Men are getting in the MCU, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The first meeting we're gonna see is Deadpool, and the third movie, which can work because they can just break the third or the fourth wall and do that whole like, Ryan Reynolds just being like, "Yeah, guys, like I jumped dimensions. What the fuck?" and then move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Right.
But good for Deadpool fans.
And I doubt it's going to be called Deadpool 3. I think they need to distance themselves.
No, it's going to be Deadpool colon some like reference to the
Deadpool,
fact that they're jumping
X-Men,
dimensions.
X-Men, or, now
Like,
we're X-Men. Yeah.
welcome to the MCU. I don't know.
Yeah. But and I mean, it from a financial standpoint, I mean, you make a Deadpool 3, you're going to make $1 billion because I think the last ones came pretty close to that, or at least $500 million. Whatever, they're really profitable. So like, for them to make this movie and like and incorporate X-Men and know that it's going to make them money is probably the safest way to do it. Like instead of just jumping into X-Men and like having it flop like everything has.
Oh yeah, and like like you said, Deadpool is always profitable. Both movies are profitable. It's obvious because they even made a PG-13 version, re-released it, and still made a bunch of money off of it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And like, why not? Like, as much as I'm not a Deadpool fan, I kind of shit on that first movie. Like, a little bit over the top for the show, but Ryan Reynolds is the perfect Deadpool. And what are you going to do? Recast him? Like, yeah, this isn't a Hugh Jackman situation where I believe Hugh Jackman is very recastable.
Mm-hmm.
As much as people love him, as much as I loved him in that, he is recastable. I don't think Ryan Reynolds is recastable currently. So it makes sense to just like, all right, let's just keep doing this. And it gives us an R-rated movie and something different to put out there. And okay. And it doesn't have to connect into the big overarching story of what's going on. It can just be like, okay, here's Deadpool doing wacky shit.
But give me some X-Men characters, man. Oh, now I'm excited thinking about that. Like,
yeah, I'm excited to see what they have in store for that.
Oh.
I really want them to nail Fantastic Four first, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that needs to come out and be successful, and then I want to hear about X-Men.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Rumor time. So this has been thrown around the internet. Chris Evans even tweeted and said, "This is news to me." It's reported that Chris Evans will reprise his role as Steve Rogers, but not as in a Captain America film, as a cameo in other films. So, which is fine. I don't want him to come back in another Captain America film because you can tell. I mean, you're a bigger Captain America fan, but I thought the send off they did with him was amazing. I don't think. They don't need to do anything else.
It's the best ending Cap could ever get. It's just perfect. Yeah, I love those three movies. I loved Endgame and what they did and how they like ended his saga, and I think it was perfect. I am curious to see. First of all, the tweet he came out with, I call bullshit on it because I've seen it so many times where these come out. Oh, so and so, Oscar Isaac's gonna be Moon Knight, and he's just like, well, I know nothing about this. And it's like, okay, well now it's official.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Same with the woman who played She-Hulk and so on and so forth. So I've seen it before, but I could see maybe him popping up as like old man Steve again, because I know a lot of people have thrown out this. That one of the things he really wanted to get away from the character was because like just staying in shape like that is a pain in the ass, and he openly said that. So him just showing up as old man Steve again, maybe like doing a quick like, "Hey Falcon, what's up, buddy?" and then leaving. I can see that happening.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But people who are online saying like, "Oh my God, Captain America 4," or "Oh my God, Peggy Carter season 3 with Cap," I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be just a quick. He's going to be like a cameo character, or at best a Iron Man in the first Spider-Man movie kind of character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think, and that's fine. I don't want anything more than that, and I think you said that too. So
yeah, I don't need to see Steve Rogers punching more Nazis. Like,
yeah, we got
I got 3 films of that. It's great.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's jump to this interview with David Whalen, and we'll see everybody on the other side.
Welcome to the other side, everybody.
We're on the other side. We're here. Yeah. So please check David out and all the cool stuff he's doing. So he will for sure be back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully everybody will see him at cons soon.
Yeah. You remember Comic-Cons? Yeah, going out and doing
they might
things.
Come back.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the comic news. DC is continuing to add to their lineup to post Future State. So this is interesting stuff. There's some pretty I'm excited. Just want to give you a heads up before I finish this. But first up is a new ongoing Robin title starring Damian Wayne, written by Joshua Williams, and art by Gleb Melenikov. Joshua Williamson, sorry. Yeah, so Damian Wayne, they try to do this Robin thing a lot, I feel like. And it doesn't work for me. I don't know about you, but Damian isn't a strong enough. There's a lot of Robin fans out there, so I'm sure they'll be picking this up, but...
And this is one of the things we differ on. I love Damian Wayne. I love that character. I wish it was more picking up where they left Damian pre-Future State, of him being like he went too far, and he's no longer Robin. He's going off and trying to figure out his own shit. But I'll check it out, especially Joshua Williamson. I think he's a great writer, and I think he's got a chance to be someone that we talk about more often in the future. He did the Batman Superman run recently, right? Was that him?
Yes. And he did when Flash first came back and Rebirth and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's done we like the Batman Superman one. You're gonna be hard pressed to me read Flash, so I didn't read that, but
that was good.
But people liked it, and so I'm down to check stuff out that he's doing, and the fact that it's Damian Wayne just kind of adds that to me.
This I'm more excited about is the Batman limited series titled Batman: The Dark Knight original. That's very original. Written by Tom Taylor with art by Andy Kubert. Oh, take my money. The series will introduce new characters to the Bat family. It's kind of interesting to me that you're titling a book Batman: The Dark Knight, and you're going to focus on new characters of the Bat family. That's a little strange, but I mean, you put Tom Taylor on a book and then you followed up with Andy Kubert. Oh.
So I'm super excited about this.
Yeah.
New characters and also a new villain was another thing. Like it's not going to be Two-Face, because I guess he's going to be in Europe because reasons. Yeah, but it's not going to be like Two-Faces in Paris, like turning the Mona Lisa Two-Face. I don't know, but
that's a great story. I would read that. That's a great '60s Batman story, though. Oh man.
But they're actually going to try to do new things, and I love Tom Taylor. Yeah. But I was laughing because when this was announced right after Robin, I started to tell a mutual friend of ours that I'm getting New 52 vibes, where so far the announcements for the books have been Batman, The Dark Knight, Robin, Nightwing. Like, when's Batgirl coming?
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, right.
Yep. Like, we're really going to be Detective Comics now.
Didn't we have a Batwing comic too?
I remember when New 52 happened, the joke was that it's the New 52 Batman books because it was so many. And fine, because I like Batman, but it was just... Yeah.
DC announced a crossover digital series with Rooster Teeth. You got to help me out here. RWBY and the Justice League. Ruby? Okay. Is the series, and the only thing we know currently is that the artist for Ruby will draw the book. I don't know nothing about Ruby.
I know Ruby through secondhand knowledge, and I know it's really popular.
Okay.
It's like one of the first American animes that's actually been shipped over to Japan to be localized in Japan.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it's an anime series. It was done by Rooster Teeth. Anyone that doesn't know, I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, you don't know what Rooster Teeth is. Rooster Teeth practically invented YouTube.
Yeah.
And yeah, so people are excited about this. I have never watched Ruby. I'm not a Rooster Teeth fan, other than like the old Red versus Blue stuff that they did.
Yeah, that's all I thought when you said Rooster Teeth, and this, I was like, this has nothing to do with Red versus Blue. That's what I was watching back in the day.
So I used to follow a channel called Kind of Funny, and they did partnerships with Rooster Teeth. So I know about Rooster Teeth through that.
Yep.
And I know that they've turned into this monolith thing that is more than just making Red versus Blue.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how far they've come.
Yeah.
DC announces another series coming to digital platforms. First titled Next Batman, Second Son, written by John Ridley with art by Tony Akins. Art by Tony Akins, Travel Foreman, and Mark Morales. The series is going to center around future state's next Batman and answer some of the questions that surround him and his origins. Okay.
Did you read the next Batman? I can't remember.
I didn't. No, because it focuses on Luke, right?
Yeah, Luke Fox.
Yeah, just not a strong enough character for me, man. If Scott Snyder wrote the character and I couldn't get into it, it's it's hard.
They're pushing him hard.
Yeah.
So I almost want to check it out just because of how hard they're pushing him.
Yeah, right. Maybe it's good. Maybe I should. I mean, most of the future stuff, and we'll talk about it a little bit. I've read about 4 or 5 future state books now, and I haven't really been disappointed with one yet. So
I think I've read 2 future state books, and it's a half and half, as once again, as we'll talk about later. But my DC purchasing has been down, so I've been more apt to be like, well, let's see what next Batman has, or let's see, because now I want to go back and check out Swamp Thing after talking to you.
Oh, dude, Swamp Thing was really good.
Yeah. They did a Robin series, and I was like, well, maybe let's see what it's all about. And like, there's other things where I'm like, I'm not buying as many DC books right now, so I have more money to spend for comics.
Yep.
So I'm like, well, let's see. Maybe it's something cool. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and here we go, some more Batman stuff.
You're excited for this one.
Yeah. These are always a lot of fun. Batman's getting a new team-up series on digital platform titled Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries, written by Ivan Cohen and art by Dario Bruzuela. And as the title states, the series will team up Batman and characters from Scooby-Doo Mysteries solving mysteries. I mean, greatest detective with the greatest group of detectives. There you go.
Yeah.
Bam.
And anyone out there, check out the cover for the first issue, because the artist for it did a homage cover for Batman Year One. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Darkhawk is returning to Marvel for his 30th anniversary. The one-shot comic will reunite original creators Danny Fingeroth and Mike Manley, as well as other creators, to set up the character for his Marvel Comics feature. Does Darkhawk have a feature at Marvel?
No. But speculators everywhere are so happy.
Oh yeah, they're like, "This is my time has come. My 50-cent comic."
So I was telling a friend this. I am a part of a speculator group on Facebook, and I do it mostly for entertainment purposes.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I started watching it because I was trying. I'm still like kind of selling off some old comics I don't want anymore, trying to make room for new ones, this and that, as we do. And so I was like, I'll go in there and see what those people have to say and try to get input and all this. And then now it's turned into entertainment. And my favorite thing was they recently redid the copyright for Darkhawk, presumably for this. And everybody freaked out because Darkhawk was one of those books where like it was a 90s book that everyone bought because it was going to put your kids through college. And now it's like a 50-cent dollar bin book. So guys have a ton of them, and then this happened, and the price like skyrocketed to like a couple $100 because there might be a movie announced. Right. And so Darkhawk is just funny to me because of that. Like that's my connection to Darkhawk is like watching these people.
Can't believe it.
He's not a terrible character. He's just kind of a '90s staple.
Yeah, there was just too many. Marvel Champions is ongoing. After E-Viewing's 5th issue, the series will continue on with a new creative team. It's going to be written by Danny Lore with art by Luciano Vecchio, excuse me. So that's, like, I don't know if you're reading that, but...
I am. So they're doing a 5-issue series where it's like Marvel or Champions outlawed. And like the whole thing is now teenage superheroes are outlawed. They can't be heroes. They have to have like, in order to be a teenage hero, you have to have a mentor. So in order for Robin to go out and do his thing, he has to have Batman. You know, that kind of idea.
Right.
And it was always going to be 5-issue series, and I guess it's doing well enough because they said, "Hey, let's do ongoing."
Yeah.
And but I like Champions. I think they're a cool group. I mostly get it because I just like Miles.
Right. So. Yeah. Who doesn't? All right. So I guess we'll talk about what we read this week. I'm going to start off with probably the two that I liked the least. Well, not the least, but I mean, and not to say that they're bad, but Future State Green Lantern #1. This is written by Jeffrey Thorne and Tom Rainey. There's 2 stories here. The second one is actually better than the first, which
shockingly better.
Yeah, which is like, and I'm trying to think about this, Chris. After I finished, I don't think this has ever happened to me with a comic book, where the little 4 or 5 issues in the end of the book, even the art was better.
Yeah.
And it's not written by the same person. I don't know if you have it in front of you, but you could maybe list them off. But yeah, I forgot to write that part down. So the first story is a John Stewart story leading a resistance on a planet, and the problem is you gave me a lantern story without any lanterns.
So here's my first problem with this book.
Yeah.
Everybody look at this cover.
Right.
John Stewart's in a Green Lantern outfit.
Right. And for
that doesn't happen in the book.
Right. For the next well, I don't know, 24 pages, he's leading a resistance on a planet. I don't know, saving some planet. He's got a laser sword. Oh. It's really not that great. The second story was
First and foremost, it's very important that John Stewart's doing his best cosplay of Bishop from the X-Men in this too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I mean the way they drew him, he looks just like Idris Elba as well. So, anyways, the first story we could kind of gloss over. The second story about Jessica Cruz was actually really good. And do you have the artist and writer for that one?
Let me see if it says in the actual issue.
Yeah, it should say it right at the start of the that story. But we get some yellow lanterns that go. Yep.
It's Ryan Caddy is the writer, and the artist is Sammy Basuri.
Okay, and this story is way better than the first part. Jessica Cruz is alone on a space station as part of the lantern power battery. We know something has gone wrong where none of the lanterns are around anymore. These 3 yellow lanterns show up. One of them embodies the parallax. It's like the powers are like within her. Basically, she ambushes each of the lanterns, and she goes to fight the last one, the leader, and she can wield a yellow power battery, and is chosen for a yellow lantern ring, which is crazy because, it sees her as instilling fear on someone. And so it's like, damn, you should be a yellow lantern. I thought it was a great story. I don't know about you, but...
Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah.
And I liked her in Justice League Odyssey. Like, I thought she's a decent enough character. I thought her introduction into the DC Universe was weak.
Yep.
And she's grown since then, but it's still, to me, shocking that I like this so much more than I did the John Stewart story.
Yeah, really. Kickass versus Hitgirl #3. This is Steve Niles and Marcelo Frusin. We have the fight between Kickass and Hitgirl. Kickass actually beats her because Kickass is a trained war veteran. And then we have this thing with her family and the friend that's like watching her kids for her are getting closer to finding out that she's Kickass. While all this is happening, the cartel calls in backup because they know that Hitgirl and Kickass are together and they want to start going after both of them. So, not a bad issue. Future State Justice League. So did this have 2 stories? Because I only read the first one.
I did not read it.
Okay. I think I got to finish up the issue. But this is Joshua Williamson, speaking of Joshua Williamson, and Robson Roca on the art. Art's amazing. Story is really strong. We get a new Justice League from the multiverse, and so we have new Flash. We have Jonathan Kent as Superman. We have a Flash from another timeline universe. I think it's supposed to be Johnny Quick, but I'm not sure. And then we have Aqua Woman, which is awesome. The daughter of Aquaman of Arthur Curry. Crazy awesome lineup. I think this is really cool. There's a scene with the Legion of Doom is all meeting up, saying like, okay, we got to kill the Justice League, and then like the next page, the Legion of Doom is murdered. So it's like really funny. They do like a whole roll call and spend time like on each of the people in the Legion of Doom, and then they're just all dead. There were some cool alternate villains in the Legion of Doom. So it's interesting because the new Justice League isn't as like tight and friendly, like a tight-knit group like the last Justice League, because there's a story that, and I don't think this is talked about anywhere, but someone betrays the Justice League, and it's one of the Justice Leaguers. So what they do is they have this new rule where the League members can't share personal info. So, like, you know how Batman knows, Clark Kent is Superman and stuff like they don't have those relationships with each other. But it finds out that when the Legion of Doom is murdered, they're murdered by the Hyper Clan, and the Hyper Clan are these white Martians. And so they show up and they're like, they look like a Justice League, but they're all like morphed and like mutant looking. But what they're doing this time, they talk about how we were white Martians that were cast out before because we look like Martians. Now what they're doing is they're transform, because we know white Martians can change their form. They're making themselves look like the Justice League, and they basically capture all the Justice League members, and they're going to go around making a bad name for the Justice League and just like killing people instead of. I thought it was a solid story. I mean, Joshua Williamson took a whole new spin on the Justice League. We got some cool Legion of Doom people until they died, which kind of sucked. But even like the Hyper Clan like splash page was awesome. So I think out of the future states so far, I mean, like Justice League has been good. Swamp Thing was awesome, and Harley Quinn was really solid. So good on DC for doing some cool stuff. I mean, this is I haven't had this much fun reading Justice League in a while because it was like new and interesting. It's like, I haven't seen these characters in a while.
I do wish DC would go back to kind of changing the team around a little bit every so often. It felt like an old school Justice League issue. Like you read it and you're like, oh, Justice League gets captured. Oh, there's an evil like version of the Justice League. I'm like, that's what I want out of a Justice League. But, it's like, man, this is awesome. Well, it's one thing that Marvel does with the Avengers that I like, where like when someone takes it over and they do something, usually the team changes a bit and some of the hierarchy changes, and it's like there's always like Cap's usually in it, Black Panther's usually in it, but like for the most part, but like now the new team's got like Ghost Rider and like all these weird characters, where I feel like Justice League over the past since New 52 really, it's been like the same basic group of characters. I know with Scott's run they added a few, but for the most part, like I wish they would kind of like replace characters and move them around and do a couple new things to make it feel a little different.
Right. Yeah. And there's a lot of future states that came out this week. I another one I was going to check out, I didn't get to though, was Superman, Wonder Woman, and even like Dark Detective looked interesting, but. Then the last comic I read this week was The Wrong Earth, Night and Day, which is Tom Pear, Jamal Eagle on the art. And you guys know how much I love Wrong Earth. I'm loving that it's back. We get a 1 year time jump, so both of the Dragonfly heroes that have swapped have been there for a year, and it's interesting because you see like the Dark Knight version of Dragonfly starting to be more poppy and more animated, like like the '60s Batman version. So we we start off with this shitty villain, Pilgrim Progress, in the '60s world, captures Stinger and Dragonfly Man, and ties them up, and he's like everything's like Pilgrim themed. So he's like, and his big bad idea is he has them over this boiling water, but the town's water is so hard and like awful that boiling the water like below them is gonna release noxious gas to like kill them. So I think it was like a stab at like Flint, Michigan or something, but it's really funny. So then we find out on both Earths that the mirrors that they use to swap Earths are popping up randomly all over, and people aren't going through them, but there's like waste and pollution going through them. So someone's using them. Basically, by the end of the issue, both Dragonfly versions go through a mirror and they crash their cars into each other and find each other, and that's how the issue ends. So I love the story, I love these characters, and Tom Perry, just that man can write. So really great stuff.
So real quick, this one came out a few weeks ago, but I finally read Generation Shattered. It was so first of all, old man Booster Gold finds Commandy and is like, "Hey, come with me, young boy, and help me out." And then he ends up dying, giving Commandy control over Skeets, who is now a gauntlet for some reason. And so he has to go back and find all these characters. So like if you remember the team that was being set up, it was like Green Lantern, Sinestro, and Superboy, and all these other weird characters. Half of them are brought into this on accident, where like Commandy doesn't really. Booster Gold had a plan. Commandy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. So when like they want to get Superman, they accidentally get Steel instead, and like stuff like that. So that's where kind of the weird team comes about, and it was kind of a fun way to put it together. All in all, it just seems like what's happening is that it's taking place somewhere in the ending of Death Metal, where like everything's disappearing, time is shattering, and it's up to Commandy and this like new team to try to take down the villain who's going to erase time. And the villain was Dominus or Dominus, someone I've never seen before, but I'm told is like an old school DC villain. Remember, I'm not a huge DC fan. But it was, I don't know, it was fun. It was a little too long, but I thought it should have been like, instead of doing this in 2 like oversized issues, maybe they should have done it as like a small series, like 4 issues or something, just got it done with. But I mean, I'll read the second one just to finish the story. Amazing Spider-Man 57 is basically Peter and Norman talking about how Norman's a dick. And then like at the end of it, something's going on where the new villain, Norman's son, is he's stuck in this dimension. He's stuck in Spot World, to be honest. But he's stuck in this like alternate dimension that's created by Spot. And we find out that he planned to be there all along, and that he's not really stuck, and there's something going on. So there's like a reveal at the end where like the little millipede things attack somebody, and so obviously he's coming back. There's more to this than what happened in the last story. It was, it was a good issue. King in Black, Planet of Symbiotes, #1. So this is a split issue. The first story was all about Scream, and I don't care about Scream. I read the Scream series that Cullen Bunn did, and even then I was kind of like, I don't care about Scream. But the second story in it was interesting because it calls back to old Venom stuff and Donnie's run, where Cletus Cassidy's like great grandfather was the first serial killer on the New World, and that's where like his heritage of being a piece of shit comes back from that time. And so Null goes and finds his tomb underneath Ravenclaw. and they've connected this character to Ravenclaw in the past. So if you followed all this shit, you get the connection. If this is the first time you're reading it, you have no clue what's going on. But it was kind of cool because Noel comes down, finds his corpse, and then like gives him a symbiote, and tells him to rise and work for me. And he creates a new symbiote villain called Plague, where this new symbiote can like suck the life force out of you and basically turn you into a corpse while empowering himself. So now we have another Cassidy running around with a symbiote, and he's on the loose. It ends with him just like kind of getting away. So I'm interested to see if it ties into King in Black, or if they're going to do another in this series, or what's going to go on. Star Wars Darth Vader #9. It's basically Vader and this bounty hunter fighting for like half the story, and it's fun. It's Darth Vader. He's got a lightsaber, so it's fun. Sword #2 is another King in Black tie-in, where they're trying to figure out how they can help what's going on Earth, because Sword's mission, as we talked about earlier, is to protect Earth from intergalactic threats, and they failed once again. 2 issues in, everybody.
2 issues in.
So, but this version of Sword is all mutants, so they're like, well, how do we go down and help Krakoa fight against it so that Krakoa can become more powerful and then help save the world? And they get down and they see one of the symbiote dragons fighting a bunch of the X-Men, and they just go down to help them. And there's a story behind it where Mentalo was sent down with his think tank, and which is literally a tank.
That's awesome.
To go rescue the five that can like rebirth mutants. If anyone remembers from Hoxpox, like the whole thing where they can create eggs to rebirth mutants, so they have, even if they die, they can come back.
Mm-hmm.
And so he does that, and then it's kind of like, all right, what's next? And it ends with one of the X-Men is finally taken over by one of the symbiotes, as this event is all about, and they're gonna have to fight him in the next issue. So it's pretty good. I just kind of wish that 2 issues into Sword, we weren't immediately jumping into a event crossover story, but
right.
We'll see. I still like Sword, and I have faith in Al Ewing to like keep it going. And then speaking of crossing over, King in Black Thunderbolts #1. It's so I'm gonna say I really liked it, but it has the same problem that I have with the Suicide Squad movie, where there's this big team that they introduce, and because only 5 of the characters on the team are on the cover, I was just like, okay, so those guys are all going to die right away.
Right.
And I was right. They all died. But it's a cool little team. I like Thunderbolts. It's kind of like the Suicide Squad for Marvel. Yep. It's a little different where they don't actually work for the government, but that's the basic idea. And they're sent to Ravenclaw to go find Norman. And allegedly, Wilson Fisk thinks that Norman's going to be the one to save the world from Null. So that's kind of what their mission is all along. And and along the way, Batroc the Leaper's in this book, so it's automatically 10 out of 10.
Awesome.
That's all I have, Mike. So where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Fortress Ricker on Twitter. Where can they find you and or the show?
You can find me at Fortress Chris on Twitter, or the show at fortresscomicnews.com. If you're listening to us on a podcatcher, remember, everybody, to give us a 5-star review. And if you're watching on YouTube, at youtube.com/fortresscomics, to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below. And if you want to go the extra mile, be the extra super duper listener, you can go to patreon.com/fortressofcomicnews. Thanks all so much for listening, and we will see you next week with another awesome episode.
Bye.
Bye.